us were born to be different, and that's a little bit about what I'm going to talk about today. My project was about assessing availability and the need for adaptive attire for people who have non-conventional body figures. Adaptive attire is also known as disability clothing. It's also called adaptive apparel. Essentially what we're talking about is clothing that's modified for easier use, or that in its initial design, it's designed to be easier for people who have varying types of disabilities. An example of this could be waistbands that are elastic and zippers that are replaced that are less friction, so you could use them maybe with one hand. My inspiration comes from my work prior to coming to Brown. I used to run a medical nonprofit that did orthopedic work around the world, and we worked with a lot of surgeons that provided surgical care for kids with deformities. And so we had specialties in scoliosis. A lot of our kids were in wheelchairs, were missing limbs, had varying types of dwarfism, or had other genetic abnormalities. So I worked in 7 different countries, ran about 17 medical missions, and encountered nearly 600 patients. And so over the years, my work, I started to kind of see these trends of patients coming into the clinic. And at some point, I didn't think that they were coincidental. I thought there was some sort of trend with what they were wearing and what they were trying to hide, usually. So this patient has a couple different abnormalities. One of them is like a larger arm. And so every time we saw her, and we saw patients every 6 months for years, she was always wearing a dress. This patient was also always wearing a dress. She has very severe scoliosis, a couple of leg abnormalities, and this patient has a plethora of health problems, one of which may be that she had braces on her legs until she was about 9 years old. The patient in the bottom in orange, she has CP, and so sometimes clothing choices is not just by the patient, but also by the caretaker. And so there are a couple issues that I was, speculating might be involved. It was finding clothing that fit you, having to worry about one article rather than 2 articles, caretakers, and you're usually hiding something like leg braces. When it came to boys, I kind of noticed they wore a lot of big baggy t-shirts, and usually they would walk in and you thought they looked perfectly normal when they took off their shirt, and there was usually some sort of major deformity underneath. Hair, not a clothing accessory, but I thought that patients often used hair as a way to hide parts of their deformities as well, either a scar or usually like significant back kyphosis is like a common trend that I've seen. My goals extend actually outside of the classroom. I actually do hope to start an apparel clothing line for adaptive apparel, but the objectives for this project were really to have some more formative research and to kind of gain insight and qualitative data to back my observations. The selection criteria for my target population breaks down into 3 main categories of body modifiers. The first being significant deformity, wheelchair users, and amputees. Developing the interview guide, I wanted to make sure that my questions could apply to any of those 3 groups. Some of my grand tour questions were about the story of how you get clothing, some of your barriers, and also how clothing might affect your self-confidence. My recruitment strategies, I used 3, the first of which was my personal network and solicited referrals. The second of which was social media and linking up with national organizations, usually through Facebook. I kind of posted lots of messages to groups, some of which I had already belonged to. I even wrote to the Boston Marathon just because the timing was really good. And this is an example of the template that I used. This is to Amputee Coalition of America. And I was pretty surprised by the responses I got and the posts and the likes and the shares and the offers to be my interviewee, which was great. The last of which was using Brown's GSBB institutional listserv, and this is the recruitment flyer that I used. So I actually had 3 participants. Each of them were recruited by different needs, and all 3 of them were actually amputees of different sorts. All 3 of them were female. The age range was between 25 to 50. 2 of them were conducted over the phone, and 1 was conducted in person. And the average length was about 32 minutes for the interview. I transcribed the interviews verbatim, quoted in vivo, assessed for some prevailing themes, and known as the audit trail. The first theme was probably the easiest one. It kind of jumped out because every single interviewee talked about it at length. It was shoes. Shoes. It was an issue. Oh my god, I only had one pair of shoes I could wear with a leg. It was horrible. Shoes is a big deal. The Converse usually work fine, but if I want to look any kind of dressy shoe, it's really hard to find something that will fit because prosthetics, for whatever reason, are not like regular feet. So fight sometimes with shoes, which I do pretty regularly. Diabetic shoes, they make diabetic shoes like for people to wear, especially like amputees, but those are really ugly. They're bulky and they're ugly, and they just don't go with anything. They clash with every single thing. It's like, why would you want to use, why do I just want those? I don't want those. I want to wear what I want to wear on my feet, but you can't. So trying to figure out adaptive shoes to look good and that are okay. So the first two were leg amputees. The bottom one, the participant one, had no right arm. And so if the laces were too short, I just can't do it. I make sure that the laces are long enough that I can do it with my method of doing it with one hand. So I didn't think that shoes would come up with my arm amputee. The second theme were prosthetics, significantly impacted clothing, were a personal choice and were not used for fashion in my sample population. I had the leg. Being maybe 2 extra sizes is incredibly limiting. This isn't working. I can't find any clothes, none. I kind of used 2 different colors, negative encounters with prosthetics, positive encounters with getting rid of it. After I decided not to wear the leg, I felt better. That's why I enjoy it so much. I can still remember how hard it was to wear the leg. Clothes, were really tight because I couldn't fit into them. As soon as I got rid of it, it was liberation. And that was for the participant that didn't have a left leg. And the girl that didn't have a right arm, her prosthetic, it would just get holes in it really quickly, and yeah, that was really sad. Theme 3, storage. Bags are very important accessories. So during my interviews, I was asking about clothing, but accessories kept coming up, and so I realized that was something that I really needed to include in my questionnaire. The patient with one leg that doesn't use a prosthetic, limited with carrying bags because I have these sticks. It's a real challenge. That's the limitation. I need the bags like this with a long strap, so it's not so heavy at all on my shoulders. And then the patient with one arm, I don't want to be that person who's like the disabled person who's taking too long to get on the train because she has all of her stuff and she can't deal with it with one hand. So she talked about having a purse that pretty much always has a purse that has a small pocket on the side, so that when I might get on the bus or whatever, I can just pull it right out because there are other people that can just pull out their wallet and unzip their wallet while they're standing there, and I can't. I would have to like hold it against my chest or something, and then it will drop, and then people are waiting for me. So these are the 3 major themes. Some of the limitations, sample size, sample diversity. I felt like I had depth with regards to amputees, but that was actually not my objective, and so I don't really feel like I reached saturation with my topics because I was hoping to get more wheelchair or even deformity input. Participation bias. My personal network interviewee actually knows that I want to start adaptive apparel, so I was wondering if she may have changed her answers because of it. And the participant 3 was 50 years old and recalling some things from 40-something years ago, and I wasn't sure if that might play a role. Recommendations. So I actually think there should be more qualitative and quantitative data regarding to adaptive attire. Most of the research was just about amputees and body image. Future research regarding non-prosthetic solutions. So there's a lot of fashion out there with really cool prosthetics, but there isn't a lot with people who don't want to use a prosthetic. This is Fashion Week this year. There was a lot of disability inclusion, but there isn't adaptive apparel for current brands. They just included more disabled people. And none of my interviews actually used a lot of alterations, but talked about how cost is a barrier. And so I do think that this could be a private sector solution because brands can just make more adaptive attires, but it would be nice if there were programs or subsidies for alterations. And so I will finish the same way I started with a little video about how the clothing industry can be more inclusive of adaptive attire.
Hinter dir steht die Herrenfigur, so wie sie eingesetzt. und nehmen jetzt all die Maße an, die wir brauchen zur Herstellung, wo es abweicht.
Ich denke, es ist auch ziemlich schwierig, um das genau nachzumachen.
Es fehlen 35.
Der Fußform der 10 Formen. Es sind nur 13. Es ist Nummer 13.